myself. My name is Trish Saunders. I am Associate Director of Admission and Financial Aid, and I use she, her pronouns, and I am delighted to be joined tonight by a number of adults and students that are part of our Residential Life program. So we're going to start this evening just by letting each of them introduce themselves, and then we have a few introductory comments for you, and then we're going to open up this session to respond to any questions that you might have for us. And audience, you can send us your questions in the chat, and we will do our very best to respond to as many of them as possible. So first, let Annie introduce herself.
Cool. I'm Annie Bailey. I'm Director of Residential Life. I've been here for about 18 years now. I live here on campus with my two children, my current sophomore here at CA, and husband and my daughter. And it should be known, my two cats and two dogs, my new puppy that's very famous on campus. So I live here in Phelps House.
Wenjin.
Hi, good evening. My name is Wenjun Kwai. I use she, her pronouns. I teach Mandarin Chinese at CA. This is my 13th year. I'm also a house faculty. I'm also in Phelps. Annie and I, we're neighbors. I live here with my husband, two children. Yes, two cats and two turtles.
And Nick.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nick Hebert. I teach in the English department and work as a mentor for our new faculty and staff at the school. This is my 10th year at CA. I live on campus here with my partner. And just to log pet information, we have two cats and are part of that big community of pet owners, I guess. Yeah.
Peter.
Hi, I'm Peter. I'm a senior boarding student. I am a member of this year's boarding council as a head of house. Also involved in a number of other things such as cross country and track and field and French club as well. Yeah.
Isabella.
Hi, I'm Isabella. I am a senior boarder from Hong Kong. I live in Haynes House and I'm involved in tennis, volleyball, and my main academic activity is I work in our campus writing center, and I'm also well known as a dog walker on campus.
Selene.
Hi, I'm Selene. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a boarder from New York City. And just like Peter, I'm also on boarding council this year. And some other things that I do, I'm a co-head of Frizz, which is a curly hair club. It's really fun. Also Alianza Latina, which is an affinity space. And I'm also a part of Worst Behavior, which is our hip hop dance club on campus. But yeah.
Thank you all. And Annie, I was hoping that you could start this evening's program by giving an overview of the Residential Life program.
Yes, absolutely. So I think as on a base level overview, we are here to keep your children safe, healthy, and happy. We have 6 houses on campus, a total of 155 boarders. Our smallest house is 21 students. Our largest house is 32. We have a mixture of ages within each house, and that really is very intentional to create that feeling of older sibling, younger sibling, those relationships. And everyone has a mix of doubles, singles, and triples. The singles tend to be for seniors and juniors, and yet we do have other people in singles as well. So there's quite a mix of rooms, and I think the feedback I've gotten from students is the rooms, each one has character. Each one is a little bit different, with built-in mantles or shelves, or I love it. It's quite wonderful. So there's a lot of character, a lot of heart in every house. Academically, the way we are set up in Boarding Life to support our academic program and our students pursuing academic endeavors is every night we have study hall for at least 2 hours. During that time, you could find students in a proctored space or in the library, depending on their study needs. And sometimes students will also be in the houses studying together in the common room. We have these great big farm tables in each common room, and it really is just such a great feeling to have different groups of students who are sitting there, perhaps with the house faculty on duty, giving tutoring or giving advice, or each study groups happening within the houses. So within the house, we really try to foster that feeling of academic support as well, with the adults who are on duty and the students and the older students who are giving advice to the younger students. So that is quite fun to see as a house parent. We also do offer a lot of leadership opportunities within Boarding Life. So you mentioned before, Peter and Delaney are a part of the boarding council team. These are heads of houses who are really, they come a week early before students arrive here. They get extensive training. They meet with me every week. We have our special meeting every Sunday night and touch base at various times throughout the week and throughout the month, and have different special traditions that we run. And so that's pretty great to see. We also have different leadership opportunities when it comes to house managing. We have a house store, so we have someone who's in charge of the finances of the house store, also someone within each house who's involved with environmental sustainability, and then also just a person who is focused on fun, the social lead, who is really just meant to, we're all kids at heart, and so fun is a really big piece of Boarding Life. We really think of it as the way we build connections and relate to each other, and because all of us can laugh and have fun together, no matter where you're from or what grade you're in or how old you are, we can really connect together. So the social leads work with the heads of house to have fun. On the fun theme, we also, when I think of the access that boarding students have here, extended campus is key. So we have our CA campus, but then Concord town is within a few steps from our boarding houses, and so people can go across the street to the Concord Public Library and have a really great experience studying there if they just want to get off campus, or they can go get whatever they need around the town of Concord. So that extended campus is really pretty critical. We also have a lot of campus activities, which we'll show you a slide on in a minute, but we also have this other or maybe we'll see right now. So weekends at CA are quite robust. We are a day boarding school, and my son is a day student here. We live on campus. My son is a day student, and he is here all the time with his day student friends, I must say. So Friday night is really robust. We typically have all kinds of very big campus activities happening. So if your child was here, they would probably be on campus on a Friday night until 10 or 10:30 or 11, and with their friends and really connecting on campus. And I've heard that parents really enjoy this because they know where their kids are, and it's nice that it's a community and everyone's really involved. So these are some activities like the block party, where in the beginning of the school, we opened our pool. We had lots of different fire pits and s'mores and whatnot. We also have different things like scavenger hunts or cookie decorating and open gym tournaments and other pretty sizable school events. So it's like a typical Friday night. And then for Saturday and Sunday, on Saturdays, Sunday is really dedicated to studying. We actually have an afternoon study hall at 1 o'clock for our freshmen and sophomore on our first year and second year students on Sunday, because we really want to help ground students early in the day so they can really look into what they have to do and accomplish, and to instill some great study habits to start thinking about studying earlier than waiting till last minute on Sunday. So that Sunday is really an academic day, but on Saturdays, we really focus on getting kids off campus, doing things like surfing or apple picking, going to a nearby place called Kimball's that students love, with mini golf and driving range and bumper boats. And we also have service trips that happen at local farms or food pantries or museum trips. So a lot of really fun stuff happening. We also on campus have things within we have these things called organic programs, which are really small scale events where the house parents who are on duty will open up an event something that they love to do. So we have someone who is very good at making dumplings, for example. So they have taught a lot of our students how to make dumplings or crepes, or other people like to hike around Walden Pond, and so they'll lead a trip around Walden Pond with their dogs running around. So it's really a great way. Organic programming is a great supplement to the other campus activities that are happening for all students as well. So that's just kind of a snapshot. Another thing within boarding life is something that's near and dear to my heart, and something that's happening even tonight is our house comps. So we have house competitions sort of similar to what you would see in Harry Potter, where our 6 houses compete against each other and try to win points. And it's something people take really seriously. And tonight we're playing dodgeball. It's usually quite silly. I think a couple weeks ago we did a fashion show where everyone dressed the head of house up in an outfit that resembled a dinosaur but made out of newspaper, so newspaper and tape, and it was just really fun to be creative and absolutely silly. So great time to just unwind in the middle of the week and have some time together to connect. We also, it should be said that another thing that we do as house faculty is on Saturday nights at 11 o'clock at night, right when I would like to go to bed, but teenagers are up. So I know that they're getting their second wind. We make a little snack, or sometimes a feast. So we as house parents will make something for our house where we will all gather around the table together and share in this the meal that we're serving. So I know Wenjin has done some great dumpling stuff, and I tried apple crisp last week, and the students will help us. Often they'll help us make the food also, so that's kind of fun to share a family recipe, and just there's just a lot of fun that happens when you're cutting vegetables together around a kitchen table. So I just talked a lot, but hopefully that gives you a good snapshot as to boarding life at CA.
Thank you for that great overview, Annie. Nick, I was wondering if you might want to comment a bit about what is meaningful for you in your work in the Residential Life program. Nick, did you want to comment about your work with Res
I'm
Life?
sorry. I would love to. My computer just froze for a second, so I missed your question. I'm so sorry. But yeah, I think your question was about sort of what I enjoy about working here on campus and being part of the community. Yeah. Yeah, there are a lot of things about it. I love teaching. And I think teenagers are the coolest people on the planet. And I like being around people who also think teenagers are wonderful and inspiring people to be around. So one of the things I think during the school year that feels especially life-giving about living on campus is just to be in a community that really comes alive when it's around one another. I think I feel kind of most at home in a classroom when I can be myself. And I think one of the things I really love about the boarding program here is an opportunity to know students in a variety of different ways, and to know my colleagues as neighbors, and to know my colleagues and their families. And so it really makes, for me, for like a really vivid community day to day, that I can sort of have really rich conversations and do really valuable work with young people in the classroom. And then in some respects, like in really joyful respects, kind of be in community as a classroom with everybody after the school day is over. And so it's made living here like a real gift and a joy to me in a daily way that I feel kind of called to be a fuller person because I can be around people I live with and work with in a fuller way.
Thank you. Wenjin, what are your thoughts about living on campus?
Yes, like Nick said, I love teaching, but living on campus actually empowered me to be a better teacher and advisor. I have to say that, because I look at the 3 wonderful seniors on panel tonight. Well, one of them, Isabella, happens to be my advisee. who can casually pull out a recipe and ask me, can you make this for house food? I'll say, 老师, I miss Lasa from Singapore. Can you do it? So that's something I feel so connected to advisees when they actually can have a conversation like a family, like, what are you going to cook, you know? And also when they talk about the boarding life, I understand what they're saying because I'm part of it. And look at Peter, who's been in my Mandarin class for 4 years and now taking advanced Mandarin. I feel like even in 9th grade, when he first joined Mandarin class, I could have talked to him like, oh, you know, you have Chinese speaking roommates. But if I was not living on campus, I probably wouldn't have such kind of wise advice for Peter. But I do cherish like the relationship. I get to know them better. Well, then Celine, I would have never got to know her so well if she didn't move into Phelps last year. So I don't teach her and I don't advise her, but I enjoyed it so much getting to know her every time when I checking on her in her roommate, in her room, when she just turned around and talked to me every time when I stop by. So I do miss seeing those seniors in my house because they moved out to a different house. But I think about like, if I were not on campus as a house faculty, my work relationship with them would be quite different.
Thank you so much. And Peter and Isabella and Celine, I'm going to ask you to each respond to a question about what's your favorite part of boarding and what is your favorite weekend activity. So let's start with Celine.
Something that I really, really like about boarding here is definitely the community, because I think some of my closest friends I met here and having them in the house and being able to connect with them in a different level. They've just been my closest friends. But besides that, I really, really love the weekend activities. I feel like that's what brings the community together. So something, I think Annie touched on this earlier, about organic programming, which is where the house faculty or faculty on duty just like have these fun little activities to share a little bit of themselves with the students. I find those really, really fun and amazing. I think it was recently, this math teacher, his name is George. I love him so much, but he made this cinnamon recipe, and it's from like his grandmother, and he just shared it with us in the Wheeler Common Room, and we were able to sit there and learn from him and just like have fun and converse. And so that's something that I really, really like about boarding life. Do you want me to respond to the second question or should I wait?
No, that's fine. Yes, please.
And then I would say my favorite weekend activity by far is roller skating. So sometimes this happens like once or twice during the semester, but I've always really wanted to learn to roller skate. And because back home they're not like that accessible, when the opportunity comes up here, I really, really take advantage of it. And so I think roller skating is so much fun. So last semester, which was last time I went with a couple of freshmen that I wasn't that close to because I just came from a semester away. But I went with them, and I went with this particular freshman, or he's a sophomore now. His name is Malik. And we went together, and he didn't know how to roller skate, and I guess I had a little experience. So we went together and I tried to teach him, and it was a lot of fun. And I think I got to know him a lot better. But I really like the fun, spontaneous activities during the weekends. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Peter, what would you like to add or share?
Yeah, I just really like that within each boarding house, we can come back to our house after like a long day of classes and sports and just have everyone we live with in our wonderful common rooms, and everyone will be hanging out. And a lot of houses have this tradition of having like a house show. So we might like have like a certain TV show that we watch, like episodes, like we watch The Good Place recently with my house, and we've been like doing like one episode every once in a while, and we're all like following the story and having fun. So I find that like a really great way to like de-stress with your friends, roommates, just the people you live with after a long day. It's like a built-in support system for everyone. And as far as weekend activities, I really like the fact that not only do we benefit from what Concord has to offer, we also benefit from what the area has to offer and Boston. So we have the opportunity to go off campus. Sometimes we can go to like Harvard Square in Boston and just explore. We've also had the opportunity to go to the New England Aquarium. We have movie theater trips and things like that. So while there is a lot on campus, I also like that there are so often opportunities to explore off campus as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Isabella, what do you like best about boarding? What are some of your favorite weekend activities?
Like Peter, I really love coming back to the common room after a long day of school and activities, just being in there when I should be getting ready to go to bed and giggling with whoever's in there and like pondering over the last math problems, or sometimes I like talk sports with whatever house faculty is on duty that night. It's just a great way to go to bed, having relaxed and like, it's something to look forward to at the end of every night. My favorite weekend activities, I have to say, are organic programming, which is like last minute events that house faculty run. So like my history teacher did, I know they're called different things everywhere. I know them as like lanyarding. So it's like making friendship bracelets out of like the plastic thread and tea. And then we like made cookies. And I got that email like 30 minutes before it was happening. And so I love to use those as study breaks and sort of be able to stay on campus and do that for an hour or two if I don't have the time to go off campus for a longer chunk of time. When I do get to go off campus for longer chunks of time, I love to go into the city. Harvard Square trips, go to the bookstore, maybe go see a soccer game. It's just a great balance of being on campus and being off campus, depending how much time and effort you want to spend.
Thank you so much for those comments. And to the guests that are joining us tonight, please feel free to use the chat feature to send us any questions that you would like to respond to. And the first question that I see probably is best directed to Annie, which is how do you assign students to houses? How do you match new students with roommates? And if you could add thoughts about how gender considerations would contribute to those decisions as well.
Yes, definitely. So for our returning students, there's a process that begins in April where everyone is able to give a list of 3 or 4 kids who they be, or other students who they'd be interested in living with. And it's they can rank their roommate choices and if they would prefer a single or a double or a triple, and which house they would prefer. And then I go through a lengthy process with the house faculty members, and we walk through, make pairings of students based on their preferences, and then place them in houses along with the heads of house. Incoming students, we send out a form late April, and we send a form directly to students to ask them what their preferences are and how they would like to be represented here at CA. And so although we do have three houses that are majority female identified and 3 that are majority male identified, within every house there is gender expansiveness. So every house is all gender, where we try to accommodate each student individually based on whatever their needs are at that time. So I work extensively with every single student, and I sit down with anyone who expresses interest in being in a house that is maybe different from the one they were their gender assigned at birth. And I walk through specific rooms and we talk about other specific students who they would like to have around them to make sure it's the most comfortable situation for them. I also work with incoming students. I talk with them over the summer to see what space would be best for them and where they are at that point. actually, I did say, sorry, I missed one thing too. The way we pair new students is actually quite unique and has been hugely beneficial to the students. Is I actually work with the admissions team. So the admissions team knows our incoming students far better than I do. And so I sit down with the director of admissions and the admissions team who has interviewed everyone who is coming here and has read applications and really knows each student who is coming on board. And we make recommendations together based on their experience interviewing the family, interviewing the child, and reading the application. So we have found that to be a wildly successful way to place people when they first come in to CA community.
Thank you. And if one of the students could respond to a question about, do you stay in the same house for 4 years or do you switch? And so maybe you could reflect your personal experience or that of some of your peers.
I can answer that, I think. So I think it's pretty much sort of random your freshman year because you don't really know anyone. So you're just like placed in a house. And so from that point on, you get to fill out what Annie mentioned before, a form where you request sort of what house you get. And if you don't, that's totally fine. Like my freshman year, I was in Haynes. Sophomore year, I was also in Haynes. Last year I got to be in Phelps for the first time, and that was a lot of fun. This year I'm in Hobson, so I've been in all 3 of the female identifying houses. Really like that. I get to like switch between the houses because I get to like know all the faculty on campus and get to know so many different students. So yeah, if anyone else wants to add.
Thank you. And we have a question from someone who is a far away boarder and is wondering about what students do on long weekends. And I'll give a little bit of context for that, which is that our student houses stay open throughout the academic year, with the exception of the 3 major breaks, which include Thanksgiving and winter and spring breaks. And so beyond those break times, students, even if we have a long weekend, like our long fall weekend, students are welcome and often do stay in the houses. And for, well, Isabella, you are certainly not going home easily on the weekends. What's your experience with that?
I would say that long weekends or any unexpected extended weekend, like if there's a snow day, sort of runs similarly to a regular weekend. So the middle day would work like a second Saturday. So you have a later curfew, and then the last day, so like your Sunday night works like a regular Sunday night. So curfew's a little bit earlier, making sure everyone's in the house, there's study hall. But long weekends will generally run more like into the city trips or further away trips. And there's a lot of activities catered specifically towards boarders who can't go home. I think, Annie, there's like, that's often when like the surfing trip is, when the weather's nice. Sometimes we take trips to an alpaca farm, so if you want to go pet some fuzzy animals. Things that take more time happen on long weekends. And I think that's a great way to just relax, as if you were having a long weekend at home and spend time in your room and catch up on reading and catch up on laundry. So it's not that different from a regular weekend, except you have that addition of more free time.
Thank you. And Selene, someone is curious about your experience with study away. Could you share a little bit about what you did last year?
Yes. So I went to the High Mountain Institute, which is in Colorado. And it's sort of a school that sort of puts nature and the outdoors with education together. And it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. And the reason why I sort of decided to do a semester away was because I wanted like just a new experience, something to because I just wanted to like come back from that semester away and come to CA like just with a totally different perspective. And Peter also did a semester away, but it was a really great experience, and I recommend it for all students. And if you're wondering, they usually happen like during only junior year. But I did it in the fall semester, and I'm glad that I did it then. But yeah.
And Peter, where were you and when were you away?
Yeah, so I was in France actually from January to May of this past year. This is the second semester of my junior year. And I really wanted to go to just expand my language skills and like my cultural knowledge and learn a lot about myself as a person. But honestly, it wasn't like the easiest decision because of how much I love boarding life at CA, and I didn't want to miss out on anything. And so it was a tough decision for me, but I am really happy that I did it because, like Selene said, I feel like I have come back into this year with so much more appreciation for boarding life and a new perspective that's really helped me see this amazing community in a new way. Yeah.
Thank you. And wearing my financial aid hat for a moment, I do want to mention that any families that are considering applying for financial aid, students that receive financial aid at CA can be assured that opportunities to study away on one of our affiliated programs will be able to have that experience for the same expense as it would cost them to be on campus. We will only work with affiliate programs that will provide that access to all of our students. And so that is an opportunity that is available equally to all of our students. For the athletes among us, there's a question about sort of when practices and games happen and how does that fit in with your other responsibilities on campus and to boarding life?
I can answer this one. If you play on a varsity team, you practice Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 5:30 every day. And that block chunk of time is set aside every school day so that anyone who participates in extracurricular activity like performing arts or athletics or that sort of programming, it almost always happens during that chunk. And so from the time that classes get out from latest 3:15 any day until study hall starts at 7:30, it's sort of up to you to figure out when you're going to eat dinner and when you're going to shower. But athletics happen in that chunk, and then games, which are usually Wednesdays and Fridays, also happen during that time. And if you come back a little bit later, so like I had a game today, we got back at I think 6:30. That doesn't eat into your study hall time, and it doesn't eat into your class time either. Occasionally there are games or meets on Saturdays, but that is like once or twice a season.
Thank you. And Wenjun, I'm wondering if you could give a little bit of an overview about check-in times and house curfew and things like that.
Yes, for house faculty, when we are on duty, actually, we keep checking on students pretty often. If not every hour, probably every other hour, we walk through the houses just to say hi to students and ask for their days, offer helps, or just watch them using the kitchen. We actually have a kitchen in every single houses for students to use with our permission. But at nighttime, for school days, the curfew is 10 p.m. So the study hall ends at 9:30. The students actually have 30 minutes of free time, as they might call it. Concord is a pretty safe place, and even at 9:30 p.m., students are still allowed to walk in pairs to nearby convenience stores to get some candies or coffee if they want to. But by 10 p.m., they need to be back, and we check on them one by one. Our head of houses would go to rooms to check them in. But for weekends, the curfew time is 11 o'clock. That's when Annie mentioned we serve the snack of East to them to feed them. So they actually are eager to come back at 11. But as former international student myself, and I understand for a lot of distant border international students, they probably will spend more time on campus over long weekends. But they also are encouraged to explore Boston. CA is one of the schools students can easily go to Boston by community rail, public transportation. So we actually encourage that. We also allow them to have day passes, overnight passes to visit friends' houses or relatives' residence nearby. So for that, as long as there are communication with house faculty, permission from parents, students actually can be excused from the house. If they stay, that's 10 p.m. at night, school day, 11 p.m. Weekend nights.
Thank you. And so as you're mentioning, boarding students and day students do share friendship groups and active social lives. And there's a question that sort of expands upon that thought, which is generally how do boarding students get involved in the greater Concord community, both through relationships with local students and through service and other opportunities. Who would like to respond to that? Annie.
I can start at least. We do have a couple students who have jobs in the center of town. So they just walk down Main Street and they have jobs. So they work a couple of hours a week, or they do babysitting or dog walking on campus. We also have a group of students who, for instance, I volunteer at a local farm. They used to come with me every week or every other week to do some volunteer work there. And there are opportunities to volunteer consistently if you are interested. So that's certainly something that I have seen happen. As for friendships and welcoming people to the house at any point in time after the school day, just so you know, the houses are closed during the school day, and that's really to encourage day and boarding relations and to maximize safety so that we're all together and the teachers are teaching. And so we want to make sure that everyone can be together as a community during the school day. And then once school day is over, the students can have friends from any other house or day students hang out in the common room if they'd like. There are set visitation hours. So if you would like to have someone visit you in your room, that's fine on Friday and Saturday nights. But other than that, it's really hanging out in the common room. The common rooms are really open. So
thank you. Nick, could you give the audience an overview of new boarding student orientation and how we help to transition new students into our community?
It's a really cool and robust system. So before classes begin, just about like a whole week in advance, a big group of student leaders come back to campus to think about how they're going to build community and help support new community members to the school. And so there's a group that works really specifically on boarding and welcoming new boarding students, and then a group that works with incoming day students as well, to set up really a multi-day orientation program that welcomes students to campus, helps acclimate them to traditions at the school, community building opportunities. There's a lot of opportunity to sort of learn about the town, to learn about how different parts of the school work, to meet students from other grades. And one of the kind of cool things about that too is that's when faculty and staff are coming back for the new school year too. So we're really integrated in that welcome for new students. I really like that opportunity, that part of the year, to work with student leaders as we're sort of welcoming the new community in. And it's really cool to be in partnership with current students as we're getting new students on board and kind of acclimated to the place. The one other thing I would say is, I'd say two other things that I think are kind of really cool about CA's orientation program. The first is that the school does really thoughtful work to integrate day and boarding students. So day students will sort of spend a night on campus as part of the orientation program to get a sense for like what that part of the school and community is like, which I think is really cool. And at the same time, new boarding students will also get a lot of time together to help build community in that group. And then the other cool thing that the school does is kind of extend that orientation program into the first few weeks of the year. And so a lot of good scheduling and programming is done, I think, to keep students together and being thoughtful about new things they're learning as the school year starts to unfold.
Thank you. And Annie spoke a bit about students going into Concord Center and the concept of extended campus. And because we are our campus is directly adjacent to the downtown Concord area, which is a very safe area and very student friendly with a diverse range of pizza places and sandwich shops and restaurants and coffee shops. There's a great bookstore. There's a great athletics store. Students are allowed to leave campus without going through a sign-out procedure to go into the greater Concord downtown area, provided that two conditions are met. One is that they have to be going on foot with another student, and the other condition is they can't be missing any commitments on campus. And as long as those two conditions are met, students are free to walk into the downtown area to grab a slice of pizza or a cup of coffee or just walk around. And Annie, could you review the sign-out procedures for things that are beyond extended campus?
Yes, so beyond extended campus, there is a system in place that so while you're registering for CA, you as a parent or guardian would indicate your comfort level as to how much freedom you would like to give your child. And sometimes that changes throughout the year. So often what we'll see is that parents will say, you know what, I would like to be notified every time my child would like to go on a day pass, for example, if they want to go to the mall with a friend in maybe a CA shuttle, or they want to go to a friend's house, or even an overnight pass. And some parents will start off that way, and maybe they'll stay that way the whole 4 years, where they would like to be notified and they would like to give permission in order to have their child leave campus. Other parents will say, or guardians will say, you know what, I trust CA's parenting style, that CA is being very diligent and meticulous about figuring out where my child is going to be going, during what time, who they're going to be going with, do they have a charged cell phone, you know, who's driving them. So I feel comfortable with that. I don't, and maybe because of the time difference and whatnot, I want to give my child the ability to have a little bit more freedom, and knowing that CA is covering the parenting piece in that aspect. Whenever a child is going to someone else's house, we do always require that there is an adult host. So we, as a house parent, I would confirm within our system, we call it Aura, within our system, I would confirm that there is a host who is supervising your child at all times, whether it is a day pass or an overnight pass. But there is definitely a robust system in which we all follow to make sure that your preferences as a parent are honored throughout the year with your child. So, and I have to say, I noticed someone mentioned, you know, what if I'm a local boarder? We have some boarders from Concord. So, you know, we have boarders from India, Concord, you know, it's from everywhere on the planet. And so some local boarders will go home. Maybe they'll bring a friend with them. Some local boarders go home every weekend if they'd like. Or what I see even more often is they go home for maybe one night every once in a while, or every other weekend, because there is a lot going on campus. But if you're local, it's a great opportunity for you to bring home a friend and share your home with others too.
Thank you. And we're coming to the end of our scheduled program tonight. So I was hoping maybe that everyone could respond to one final question, which is, what is one of your favorite boarding traditions? Wenjin, would you like to start?
We have so many traditions, just hard to pick, but me and my family as a whole, we do enjoy the community dinner, like that happened a few times through the year. We have one coming this Sunday. It's a community event. Students and faculty all get to dress up a little bit because we're such a casual dress the school, but it's one occasion students get to show off their fashion taste and everything. And my family and I were happy to join. And actually, Annie and the team, they do a wonderful job to show off the very festival menu every time. So that's something my family and I, we always look forward to.
Thank you. So Lainey, what's your favorite boarding tradition?
I'm being honest, this might be what everybody says, but it would have to be house food. I really, really, really look forward to it. On Saturday nights when my stomach is grumbling, I really, really look forward to the food. I think last weekend, one of the house faculty in Hobson, her name is Carmen, she made vegan cinnamon rolls and hot chocolate, and it was delicious. Oh my God, it was so good. But yeah, it really brings me joy, and I really look forward to that on Saturday nights.
Thank you. Annie, what's your favorite boarding tradition? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry. I would say our traditions we have around specific holidays, a lot of them are sort of top secret, so but they're just like a great time to be together. They're like a really special time to be together and have some just ways to connect people. Sometimes they're after hours, so they're just sharing and stargazing, or you know, Mid-Autumn Festival and being outside with lanterns and just, you know, being out on the chapel lawn and looking up at the sky, or s'mores, or just those kinds of traditions we have throughout the whole year, scattered about. So yeah.
Thank you. Isabella.
I love house comps. So there's a dodgeball one tonight. Another personal favorite is there's a competition, who can eat a donut from a string hanging from the ceiling. That's really fun to do on like a random Thursday night in the school year.
Nick.
My favorite tradition is just part of the evening every night during study hall. Like there are a few opportunities to check in. So like I really love at 7:30, like walking around the house and checking in with everybody. That's like one of my favorite parts of the boarding day, just to like hear about how people's day was. And then like Selene and I work together in Hobson. So like at the end of the day in Hobson, like I check in with Selene just about like how the day was, like how the house was. And I love those conversations and check-ins.
Peter, your favorite boarding tradition?
I would say in relation to the holidays as well, I really like when we decorate our common rooms. So for example, for this for Halloween this year, we had a little competition between the houses of who could have the like spookiest common room. So we had streamers and little pumpkins and decorations and things like that. And then we also do that, I believe, around in December for more like the Christmas time, and yeah, just make the common room look very festive. It's a really fun thing to do. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I know you all probably have some work to get done before the house comps later this evening. So we're going to wrap up the program now. Panelists, thank you all for your participation and your thoughtful responses to our great audience's questions. We really appreciate all that you had to share. I'm going to be putting my email address into the chat, and anyone, if you have any additional questions that didn't get answered, or if you'd like to have specific follow-up with any of our panelists, please feel free to reach out to me, and I will help to make those things happen. So again, thank you and good night.